Hello there. I hope you are doing well. My name is Saeed Toosizadeh. I hold a PhD in control engineering and automation. As a brief history, I received a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Ferdowsi University of Mashhad in 1995 and a master's degree and PhD in control engineering from the same university in 1998 and 2005, respectively. I joined as a full-time professor in the Electrical and Computer Engineering department at Azad University of Mashhad in 2006. Since 2006, I have been exploring the area of computer vision, robotics vision, artificial intelligence, machine learning, IoT, encryption algorithm, network security, smart sensor networks, and XR systems. Since 2018, I have been working as a visiting professor at McMaster University and researching medical equipment, computer vision, and AI. Also, I'm lecturing in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering Technology at Mohawk College. I cooperate with IdeaWorks on several significant applied research industrial projects. I want to talk about DHCP setup on a Windows domain controller and monitoring using virtual machines. Topics in outline contain introduction, that is about the system's performance and benefits. Setup structure shows the whole system structure. Creating the virtual machine for the Windows domain controller and creating the virtual machine for a Windows client. We need to create at least two virtual machines, one for the domain controller and one for the client. But client virtual machines can be more than one machine. Importance of controller virtual machine, domain controller virtual machine. I talk about the importance of domain controller virtual machine in DHCP, that is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol services. Then we promote the domain controller in the promoting to domain controller section. Explain how we can change the Windows server on the virtual machine to a domain controller. Next, we want to add the DHCP server role to the Windows domain controller virtual machine. This part shows the required steps to add DHCP server role to the Windows domain controller virtual machine. Connecting client to domain. After fulfilling the adjustment for the domain controller virtual machine, we work on connecting the client virtual machine to the domain. Uh, in Wireshark installation, then we install the Wireshark software. Capture network traffic on the client virtual machine. We want to, in order to analyze network performance and traffic, uh, we have to use Wireshark as a software that can analyze the uh, network traffic. As an introduction, to simplify administration and create more efficiency for the network, we use the Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, DHCP. which is a networking protocol that automatically assigns IP addresses and related network configuration settings to devices on a network. We employ virtual machines for flexibility, resource isolation, and efficient hardware utilization. Virtual machines are based on emulation software instead of a physical computer and allows us to run various operating systems and applications on a single physical server or host machine. A Windows domain controller is a type of server that manages network security, authentication, and central user account management in a Windows Active Directory environment, including group policies, user credentials, and computer names to determine and validate user access. And these are the components that we want to work with. So the last one is Wireshark, that is a software, a network packet analyzer used for capturing, inspecting, and analyzing network traffic to diagnose network problems, monitor network performance, and investigate security occurrences. So we talk about the components that we want to work on that from uh, DHCP, uh, virtual machines, domain controller, and Wireshark. Setting up DHCP on a Windows domain controller and monitoring it with virtual machines and Wireshark is critical for simplifying IP address management, guaranteeing network efficiency, and improving security in a Windows network environment. DHCP automates IP address and network configuration assignment, while virtual machines provide isolated testing and monitoring, resulting in a robust and well-managed network architecture. Wireshark aids in troubleshooting and enhances overall network performance and reliability by capturing, inspecting, and analyzing network traffic. So this is a good practice for, as an example, for providing a system that you can test different things on that as the assignment, the uh, clients account, controlling the packets, analyzing the network traffic, and using DHCP for automating IP address and network configuration assignment. In this figure, you can see setup structure of the whole system. We have a physical host machine for implementing our desired dynamic host configuration protocol. We need to create one virtual machine for the Windows domain controller and at least one virtual machine for the client machine. All these machines must be created on the server. Wireshark will be installed on one of the client virtual machines. So we have a server hosting machine that is responsible for managing multiple virtual machines within a network setup. One of these virtual machines is configured as a Windows domain controller and has the DHCP server role implemented. Additionally, we have other virtual machines that act as clients within this network to analyze network traffic. We will install Wireshark on one of the client virtual machines. Server hosting machine is a physical server that is responsible for managing and hosting the virtual machines. It runs virtualization software like virtual machine, VMware Workstation, VirtualBox, or Hypervisor to create and manage virtual machines. So we have to install a virtualization software on our server. The Windows Domain Controller virtual machine serves as the central authentication and authorization server within our network. It manages user accounts and security policies and provides services like DNS and DHCP. The DHCP role on this virtual machine is responsible for assigning IP addresses and other network configuration information to client virtual machines. All these tasks are executed in a central manner. On the other hand, client virtual machines act as end-user computer or devices within our network. We should know how many client virtual machines we have. They rely on the DHCP server for IP address assignment and authentication services from the Windows Domain Controller. And finally, Wireshark is a network packet analyzer. By installing Wireshark on one of the client virtual machines, we can capture and analyze network traffic within our created network. This is this can be a useful this can be useful for monitoring network activity, diagnosing issues, and ensuring network security. And it's a valuable experience and practice in this field. Creating the virtual machine for the Windows Domain Controller. We start by creating the virtual machine for the Windows Domain Controller on the physical host machine. At, at first, we have to install visualization software. I prefer VMware Workstation or VirtualBox. Then we have to launch virtual software on the visualization software on the host machine. Then we have to create a new virtual machine, a custom new virtual machine with hardware compatibility and OS installation, operating system installation for later must be chosen. Select the guest operating system, that is the Microsoft Windows Server. Then we have to specify a name for a name and location for storage. We can consider domain controller DC. Specify the size of the virtual hard disk for installing Windows Server. Something more than 40 gigabytes is recommended. Then we have to customize hardware to the desired requirements. We should determine how many CPU cores we need, the size of the RAM, the network adapter, and the other requirements must be determined. Finally, we have to copy the ISO file for the Windows Server installation. Then we have to close to save the hardware setting. We have to save the ISO file for the Windows Server because we have to use it for installation the Windows Server next. Power on virtual machine and follow the Windows Server installation process. This should be done after creating the virtual machine, and we have to complete the installation of the Windows Server with its product key. Creating the virtual machine for a Windows client. So a similar process must be followed for creating the virtual machine for the client. Again, install virtualization software, launch virtualization software on the host machine. We have to create a new virtual machine by considering hardware compatibility and operating system installation for later. These must be selected. We have to select the guest operating system. In this case, Microsoft Windows like Windows 10 should be considered. We have to enter the name for the virtual machine and the location for storage. We can consider client. Then we have to specify the size of the virtual hard disk for installing Windows. Customize hardware to the desired requirements. Again, the number of CPU cores, RAM, network adapter, and the others should be determined. We have to copy the ISO file for the Windows installation, then close and save the hardware settings. Now the system is ready to install Windows, so we can power on the virtual machine and follow the Windows installation process. This is like the installation process of a Windows 10 operating system that we have to follow step by step to complete the installation process. Importance of domain controller virtual machine. On this slide, I want to talk about the importance of domain controller virtual machine. The domain controller virtual machine may host dynamic host configuration protocol (DHCP) services, which automatically assign IP addresses and network configuration settings to client devices. It simplifies network management by centralizing IP address management. In addition, the Windows Domain Controller Virtual Machine plays a crucial role in managing network services such as centralized authentication, user account management, resource access control, and scalability. The domain controller serves as the central hub for user authentication and authorization. It manages user accounts, security policies, and access control for all machines and users in the network. The domain controller runs Microsoft Active Directory services, which is a directory service used for storing and organizing information about network services, such as users, computers, printers, scanners, all of the resources of the network in a hierarchical structure. Often, the domain controller also serves as a domain name system server. DNS resolves domain names to IP addresses, allowing clients to locate network resources by their domain names. Also, the domain controller facilitates the management and distribution of group policies and the settings about that. The domain controller logs authentication and authorization events, which are essential for security monitoring and auditing. Promoting to domain controller. Assuming that we have already installed Windows Server on the virtual machine, we want to promote it to a domain controller virtual machine. To do so, we will do as follows. First, log into the Windows Server virtual machine with administrative credentials. So we need to have administrative username and password. Second, open Server Manager and then go to Manager. Then select Add Roles and Features. Click on the Server Manager icon in the taskbar or access it from the Start menu. In Server Manager, click on Manage from the top menu and then select Add Roles and Features. 3. Select the installation type by choosing role-based or feature-based installation. 4. We have to ensure that our server DC is selected, that we considered its name before. In the server pool, we name DC the domain controller virtual machine. If not, click Select a server from the server pool and find the name of the domain controller virtual machine that we are looking for. In the Select Server Roles section, check the Active Directory Domain Services box. Then click on Add Features. After this, you may be prompted to add optional features. At this step, Active Directory is ready to install, we should review the selections before installation. By clicking Install, the installation process begins. After the installation, click on the notification Promote this server to a domain controller. And continue, we follow the other steps. In the deployment configuration section, select Add a new forest and enter the root domain name. For example, you can consider DHCP domain for the forest, which is the domain name of our Active Directory. Choose the options for the domain controller, including the directory services restore mode password. So we have to consider and set a strong password for DSRM. That is important and recommended. A DNS server can also be chosen to install the DNS server role, and it needs to be configured. This is recommended for most scenarios. The system will run a prerequisite check to ensure all requirements are met. Then the process can be continued by pressing Install. After installation, finally, which takes some time, the server will now be promoted to a domain controller. Adding the DHCP server role to the Windows domain controller virtual machine. A similar process should be done for adding the DHCP server role to the Windows domain controller virtual machine. After setting up the Windows domain controller virtual machine with the Active Directory services, we have to log in with administrative privileges. So we have to open Server Manager and then click on Manage. Then select Add Roles and Features. So to doing that, click on Server Manager icon in the taskbar or access it from the Start menu. In Server Manager, click on Manage from the top menu and then select Add Roles and Features. Then select the installation type by choosing role-based or feature-based installation. Again, ensure the correct server is selected in the server pool. In the Select Server Roles role section, this time check the DHCP server box instead of Active Directory Domain Services that was done in previous step. Then click on Add Features. After reviewing the selections, For the DHCP role, click Install. After installation, which takes time, ensure that the installation was successful and then click Close. For the next step, we have to configure the DHCP server by clicking on Complete DHCP configuration from the Tools menu in Server Manager. So in continue, the DHCP configuration wizard will guide the process of configuring the DHCP server, which needs to be specified, such as DHCP scope, IP address range, lease durations, DNS server settings, subnet mask, default gateway, and other DHCP options based on the network requirements. To begin automatically providing IP addresses to client, the DHCP server must be activated after this configuration. Then, client devices on the network can be used to test DHCP functionality. Connecting client to domain. After completing the process of creating the Windows domain controller virtual machine and activating the DHCP server role, we proceed with connecting the client virtual machine to the defined domain. Assuming that we have already installed Windows OS, for example Windows 10, on the client virtual machine, the Windows domain controller virtual machine is running and the client virtual machine is powered on and running Windows. We will do as follows. Log in to the client virtual machine with the administrative password. Open System Properties by clicking on this computer and selecting Properties. Alternatively, you can press Windows with pause or break to open System Properties. Open Computer Name Domain Change by clicking on the Change button in System Properties and going to Advanced System Setting and then selecting Computer Name tab. So in order to do that, in the System Properties window, click on the Advanced System Settings. That is a link on the left-hand side. In the System Properties window, click the Computer Name tab. Click the Change button to join or change the computer's domain or workgroup. Select the Domain option. Enter the name of the specified domain created. For example, DHCP domain. On the Domain Controller Virtual Machine to join. And then click OK. Enter the username and password of the domain administrator account with permission to join the computer to the created domain. The client virtual machine communicates with the domain controller and the connection starts. And then a message indicating that the computer has joined the domain will appear. After the computer restarts, log in on the login screen where the domain name is listed under the username and password fields. You should click on the domain name and then log in using a domain account. After logging in, the client virtual machine is now part of the domain and it can access domain resources. And you can manage it using domain-based group policies and security settings. And finally, you can check system properties, computer name to verify that the client virtual machine is correctly joined to the domain. Now we reach to the installation process of Wireshark. Wireshark installation. We know that Wireshark is a network packet analyzer used for capturing, inspecting, and analyzing network traffic to diagnose network problems, monitor network performance, and investigate security occurrences. Assuming that we logged in on the client virtual machine that we created before, we will do as follows. First, we should download the right version of Wireshark to match the Windows OS. Windows 10, 64 bits or 32 bits of the client virtual machine from the official Wireshark download page. Execute the downloaded Wireshark installer and then the Wireshark setup wizard will appear. Click Next to proceed. After confirming the license agreement, select the components you want to install. But you can usually leave the default setting unless you have specific requirements. Follow the installation process to complete the installation. And then Wireshark is now installed on the client virtual machine. It's recommended to run Wireshark as an administrator. To do that, you should do the right clicking the Wireshark icon and select Run as Administrator. So by right-clicking the Wireshark icon and select Run as Administrator, it can be run as an administrator privilege. Wireshark is now ready to capture and analyze network traffic. After choosing a network interface, you can start a capture, view captured packets in real time, or save captured data to a capture file for later analysis. Capture network traffic on the client virtual machine. After running Wireshark with administrative privilege, We will do as follows. In the top menu bar on Wireshark, find a list of available network interfaces under the Interface List section, which represents the network adapters on the client virtual machine. Choose the specified network interface to capture traffic from. This is typically your Ethernet or Wi-Fi adapter, depending on the network configuration. Click on the desired interface to highlight it. Click the Start button in the toolbar, or go to Capture menu and select Start. Wireshark will begin capturing network traffic on the selected interface. You will see a scrolling list of captured packets in the main window. Information about each packet, including source and destination addresses, protocols, and packet details, will be displayed in the packet list and scroll up. Information about each packet, including source and destination, can be found in this list, as well as protocols and packet details and the other information that we need. To stop the capture, click the red Stop button in the toolbar. The captured traffic will remain in the Wireshark window for analysis. By selecting individual packets or applying filters, the captured packets can be analyzed. To filter packets, use the Display Filter bar located at the top of the Wireshark window. You can filter by protocol, IP address, port number, and any other criteria. And if you click on the Stop button again, it disconnects from the capture interface. We should remember that capturing network traffic may involve sensitive data. So ensure you have proper authorization and follow ethical and legal guidelines. Additionally, consider the potential impact on network performance and security when captured network traffic in a production environment. In summary, the implemented network infrastructure centered around a server hosting machine, arranging multiple virtual machines showcases a powerful and flexible environment. The presence of a Windows domain controller with an integrated DHCP server role offers centralized user management and efficient IP address allocation. With the addition of Wireshark on one of the client virtual machines, the network gained valuable traffic analysis capabilities. This combination of services and tools established a well-rounded ecosystem capable of efficient administration, robust security enforcement, and real-time network traffic monitoring. However, it's essential to emphasize the importance of ongoing maintenance and security practices to ensure the network's reliability, performance, and data integrity. Overall, this setup provides a strong foundation for a modern, manageable, and secure network environment. Thank you for listening to my presentation and have a good time.